Welcome to the shadows, where mysteries unravel, and the truth is terrifying. Shadows of mystery, dare to know the unknown. Before we dive into today's chilling topic, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated with the latest mysteries, conspiracies, and dark tales. If you're a fan of the unexplained, you won't want to miss what's coming next. And don't forget to like this video if you enjoy unraveling the spooky and the unknown.
Tonight we speak of the Ouija board. The Ouija board, a seemingly innocent tool. A game, some say a connection, others whisper. But what really lies beneath its smooth surface? Where did this doorway to the unknown originate? Our journey begins in the mid-19th century, during a time when spiritualism was sweeping across the world. The dead were said to be reachable and mediums were the bridge. In 1890, a man named Elijah Bond turned this desire to speak to the afterlife into something tangible. He took what had once been the intimate art of the séance, a ritual led by skilled mediums, where people would gather to attempt to connect with the dead, often requiring a special environment and preparation, and placed it on a board. This board was something that anyone could use in their own homes, without the guidance of an experienced medium. This mass-market invention came to be known as the infamous Ouija board. The name Ouija was said to be given by the spirits themselves. It is said that when the board was first asked what it should be called, the planchette drifted over the letters, spelling out Ouija, and when asked what it meant, it simply said, "Good luck." Over time, what was once a parlor pastime transformed into something far more sinister. For many, it became a portal, a gateway to a realm where not all who dwell are benevolent. Some who call upon the spirits find they cannot hang up the call. Take the case of the Walters family, for instance. In 1978, they decided to play with the Ouija board, hoping to contact an aunt who had passed suddenly. It started innocently enough. The board spelled out messages of love and longing, seeming to echo the voice of the lost relative. But as the weeks went by, the spirit's tone began to change. The loving messages grew demanding. The planchette would spell out threats, urging them to listen. Doors in their house began to slam without cause. Shadowy figures lurked at the edge of their vision, always watching. One night, they awoke to the sound of scratching, like fingernails dragging across the ceiling. They fled the house that night and never returned, leaving behind everything they owned, including the Ouija board. Stories like these are not as rare as one might think. In 2014, a group of friends in Mexico used a Ouija board during a night of curiosity. It began with laughter, but soon, it devolved into chaos. One of the girls, seemingly overcome by a force, began to convulse, her voice changing as she screamed that something was trying to enter her. The friends watched in terror as her eyes rolled back, and her body twisted in unnatural ways. They called for help, but by the time help arrived, the board was gone, vanished as if it had never been there at all. Some call it a toy, others call it a portal. Skeptics laugh it off as coincidence, but those who have seen the darkness, they know the truth. They know that not everything that calls out from the other side has good intentions. And once the door is open, once the board awakens, there may be no way to close it. Consider the story of Linda, a young woman in the 1980s who lived in a small town in Maine. Linda and her friends decided to use a Ouija board at a party one cold winter night. They gathered around a table, their breath visible in the chilly air, and began asking questions. Initially, the board responded with what seemed to be harmless answers. They laughed it off, dismissing it as a mere game. But when Linda asked about her future, the planchette moved with an eerie certainty, spelling out, "Soon. Very soon." Days later, Linda began experiencing strange occurrences. She would hear her name being called from empty rooms. Her belongings would go missing only to reappear in bizarre places. The worst, however, came late one night when she was alone. She awoke to find the planchette from the Ouija board resting on her chest, her fingers ice cold as if someone, or something, had placed it there. Her friends claimed they hadn't touched the board since that night, yet Linda felt that something had attached itself to her. For weeks, Linda was haunted by dark figures at the edge of her vision. One night, she described seeing a tall, shadowy figure standing at the foot of her bed, its hollow eyes watching her. Unable to bear the terror, she eventually sought out a local spiritualist, who performed a cleansing ritual. The activity finally ceased, but Linda was forever changed. She never spoke of the Ouija board again, nor did she keep one near her. But it's not just individuals. Entire groups have faced terror at the hands of the board. In 1997, a group of teenagers snuck into an abandoned house, eager for a thrill. They brought a Ouija board, hoping to contact the spirits rumored to haunt the place. What they didn't expect was for the board to answer. The planchette moved frantically, spelling out warnings. "Leave now. Danger. He is here." The temperature dropped suddenly, and the candles they had lit were extinguished all at once. Panic set in, and they rushed to leave, but one of them, Michael, claimed he couldn't move, as if an unseen force held him back. It took the strength of his friends to pull him out of the house, and when they finally escaped, Michael was visibly shaken. He spoke of a cold hand that had gripped his shoulder, refusing to let go. To this day, Michael believes something wanted him to stay, something that had been waiting in that house for far too long. The roots of the Ouija board go deeper than you might think. Before it was mass-produced, before it was sold as a game, there were those who sought to make contact through more primitive means. In Victorian times, planchettes were handmade, with small holes for pencils to allow spirits to write directly. Mediums would claim that their hands were being guided by unseen forces, channeling messages from those who had passed on. This was an era of curiosity mixed with fear. Spiritualism was a movement that promised hope to those grieving lost loved ones, and the Ouija board became a popular tool to bridge the divide between the living and the dead. But as the movement grew, so did the tales of the unintended consequences. There were whispers of seances gone wrong, of spirits that grew angry, malevolent forces that attached themselves to participants. In 1912, in a small town in Ohio, a group of women attempted to contact a recently deceased neighbor, a beloved schoolteacher. What they got instead was far darker. The board spelled out horrific accusations, naming a supposed murderer among them. The women, gripped by fear and hysteria, began accusing each other. Friendships dissolved, and a sense of dread fell upon the town. Strange fires began breaking out in their homes, and one of the women was found wandering the woods, muttering about the spirit with no eyes. It took a traveling preacher to finally calm the townsfolk, performing rituals to cleanse each house, but by then the damage had been done. Today, the Ouija board has adapted to the digital age. Apps that promise to summon spirits are easily downloadable, bringing the paranormal right into your pocket. But even in this modern form, the dangers remain. In 2019, a group of college students used one such app during a late-night gathering. The app seemed to respond intelligently, spelling out details no one else could have known. But the messages soon grew darker, threatening. One of the students, Emily, reported that her phone began glitching, opening random apps, and sending strange texts to her contacts. It didn't end there. Emily's phone would ring in the middle of the night, with no one on the other end. One night, she awoke to find a message scrawled on her bathroom mirror in condensation.
"I am here."
After that, she deleted the app, but the disturbances didn't fully stop until she moved out of her dorm room. The stories go on and on. The board is not just wood and ink. It is an invitation, an open door to those who wander between worlds, a door that cannot always be closed once opened. For those who still wish to play, remember, you may not be alone. How to use the Ouija board, a guide. For those brave enough to try, here is how you use a Ouija board. Gather your friends, at least 2 people are needed. Place the board on a flat surface, and light a candle to set the mood. Rest your fingers gently on the planchette. Do not press too hard. Now, take a deep breath and ask a question. Something simple to begin with, like, "Is there anyone here with us?" Wait and watch, but do not rush. Spirits, if present, are known to respond at their own pace. Remember, if the planchette begins to move, let it guide you. Do not force it. And when you are done, always say goodbye before leaving the board. But remember this, the door swings both ways. Are you sure you want to open it? For those who want to see more about the Ouija board in popular culture, consider watching films like The Exorcist, 1973, which features a chilling scene with a Ouija board, or Ouija. Origin of Evil, 2016, which dramatizes the terrifying potential of spirit communication. Other notable films include Ouija, 2014, a modern horror take on the dangers of the board, Ouija, Blood Ritual, 2020, which explores a sinister and dark ritual involving the board, Ouija House, 2018, where a group of friends unlocks dark secrets of a haunted house through the board, The Conjuring 2, 2016, which touches on the real-life Enfield case involving spirit communication, and Veronica, 2017, inspired by true events surrounding a young girl and her terrifying experience with a Ouija board in Madrid. If you prefer to dive into real cases, you might explore the story of the Enfield poltergeist, a chilling case in England during the 1970s where the family reportedly used a Ouija board before strange events began. Another case involves the creepy doll incident from the 1990s, detailed in an article from Paranormal Monthly, where a family reported hauntings after attempting to contact their deceased relatives. The stories are endless, and so are the warnings. Not everything on the other side is friendly, and sometimes what you let in is not what you intended. So, if you ever find yourself staring at that board, planchette in hand, remember the tales you've heard tonight. Are you ready to open the door? And if you do, will you know how to close it? This has been another journey into the unknown, brought to you by Shadows of Mystery. Thank you for joining us. Stay curious, stay safe, and until next time, keep to the light, for the darkness is always watching.